Hi everybody, my name is Keith Anderson and I'd like to thank you for watching this video and apologize for not being here in person on Back to School night. I am the teacher of AP Language and Composition. I have been teaching this class for nearly 20 years at this point. It's a great pleasure to teach it. I think it's a good class. The students who are in it, mostly thanks to you, are very diligent, hardworking, and almost everybody I think sees a great improvement in their abilities as a reader and a writer by the end of this course. So what I want to do very briefly is explain what this course is, because it's different than a lot of English courses. The two components, as you can see, are language and composition. What do we mean by studying language? Well, in a lot of other English classes, your students will notice that a big premium is put on them responding to texts. How do they feel about it? What does this text show about the world? How does it change their understanding of the world? In AP Lang, our study of language is much more objective in that we're less concerned with how we feel about a text. We're less concerned about our interpretation, and we're looking at it more in terms of a structural analysis. This is why this course tends to appeal to a lot of students who are interested in math and science, I think. So let me give you a quick example of what we mean by studying the structure of language, which is also called rhetorical analysis. Probably you have heard the term rhetorical analysis from your child, possibly because they were complaining about it, because it is difficult, and this is something that we focus on the entire semester. So rhetorical analysis might be something like, if you are looking at a speech, let's say this famous inaugural address by John F. Kennedy, and you read, "Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and the success of liberty." What would it mean to analyze this structure? Well, a lot of our more objectively minded students will be very good at noticing things and maybe even at naming things, right? They might notice that we have this repetition of the word any repeating out. We might notice that we have a lot of verbs at the beginning of these phrases and nouns at the ends of these phrases. They might know that you can call this parallel structure and a syndeton. The difficulty arises, though, in not just identifying what makes the language itself, but explaining what the effect of this language is. Because at this point you might say, well, clearly what John F. Kennedy's doing here is he's trying to make his language sound elevated and memorable and give it a good rhythm because he wants it to stick in his audience's head. This is probably true, but this is not going to cut it in terms of analysis in AP Lang, because after all, presumably there are lots of ways for Kennedy to call attention to his words. He could have used a lot of exclamation points, he could have used a lot of metaphors, he could have used profanity. There are lots of ways he could have called attention to it and made it stick in his audience's head. So what's special about this particular use of language? And at that point you start to get into more difficult things by talking about how the repetition of the specific word any creates this emphasis on the United States as a group of people or a government that's willing to do anything. It puts the emphasis on the perseverance. The verbs show here a state of varied action, right? There's nothing the United States can't do. It's not just one thing we can do, it can do all of these things. And so this is a very brief way of describing how you would look at the structure of language and connect it to specific effect from the specific structure. So, as you can see, this is an advanced procedure here. This is why this is an AP class. And like I said, a lot of students do struggle with this early on. The message I'd like to give them and also to give you is that the best thing you can do to improve in AP Lang if you feel like you are struggling is to come see me. I'm available every day at lunch. I'm always right here in this desk in room 135. And you would be surprised at how many students say that after just a 5-minute conference with me to review something, they feel so much better and they get it. So please ask your students not to be scared and to come say hello to Mr. Anderson at lunch if they need help with rhetorical analysis. So that's the language component of AP Lang. What's the composition component of AP Lang? This one's a lot more straightforward. Composition is a fancy way to say writing. What's the way that you get better at writing? by writing a lot. There's no secret here. So in the second half of the semester, we're going to be doing something I call the writing unit, and this is going to be what it sounds like, a lot of time put on writing. A lot of writing in class, and what they don't finish in class, they're going to finish at home. And this, to me, is the best way to improve, to do it a lot and to do different kinds of writing. So rather than simply writing analytical essays, at this point in the semester, we'll be doing all different types of nonfiction writing that the students can experiment with as they continue to improve. So, I'd like to say again, thank you for being here. I apologize for not being present. Please do reach out to me via email if you have any specific questions about the class or if you want to check in with how your child is doing. Thanks a lot, and I hope to talk to many of you soon.